Okay, what is good? Today I wanted to bring on James. James is somebody inside of the reserve, one of my killers, one of the top students in the reserve. You've been in here since I would say around July, so like 5 to 6 months that we've been working together directly. And James is has seen crazy transformation. He's seen crazy growth. So I wanted to bring him on here and kind of talk about James, your journey, what you're up to currently, and kind of how this whole thing has played out for you now before you start flexing on everyone with the amount of money you've made with the results that you've gotten, bro, kind of give us like a brief introduction to who you are and a little bit of background on you, your age, and what you were up to previously prior to actually joining the reserve. Kind of kick us off there.
Yeah, for sure. So my name is James. I'm 24. I've been in sales now for 5 years. I started out in door to door, and then right around like 2021, moved into like high ticket sales space. So I did, DM setting, phone setting, closing, and then some management. And then, yeah, now I'm, an RSP. So I'm working with a few big names and doing full stack, mostly sales ops. So like, building sales teams and the back end there. So that's what I'm up to right now. But
Cool. So yeah, obviously James is running the full RSP model now. Previously to joining, you were obviously doing some setting, you were doing closing, you've done just about everything in sales, high ticket, door to door. Now, before we kind of talk about how this actually happened, like how you actually got to a point where you reached such a crazy result, talk to me, bro. When you first joined, like what was life like for you in terms of income? What were you making as a sales rep? And what did you just hit in terms of monthly income last month in November of 2025, 5 months after joining?
yeah, so throughout like high ticket, it like fluctuates. My highest month ever was like 20K, but that's CAD, and I had to like work my ass off to do that. Um, Everything else was like, anywhere between to 5 and 20. But I went through a phase where I transitioned more into like management. I ended up working with an account and some stuff, kind of went down. So I actually went back down to zero pretty much,
Gotcha.
and then right around that time, I started working with you. I think I talked to you about how I'd invested in a, separate sales program. It wasn't working. And you and me had worked together previously where I actually worked as a setter. So I got to see what you guys were doing, how you run sales teams. And then, yeah, that really motivated me to, switch to this model. And last month was my biggest month ever. And I did 40K CAD. But that was,
$40,000.
yeah, and that was between two clients,
Two clients paid James $40,000. To be clear as well, for all you guys watching that don't understand the model that we run, that's profit. That's not like revenue that he's going out and he's paying sales guys or he's buying, like that's profit paid to James from two clients. Um, in only a 5 month window, which is absolutely insane. I want to break down how you actually got to a point where you made $40,000 in a 30-day window because obviously it took a lot of work. You had to have made your client a lot of money to get a payout like that. So we'll kind of break all that down. But absolutely insane for you to go from being a setter. And like you said, I've seen you and I've worked with you when you were practically at zero, right? Making 3 to 5K a month at 24 years old to now making a $40,000 income month is absolutely insane. So, James, for everyone to understand, and even for me to better understand, you obviously came to the reserve for a reason. You were previously in sales. Why were you looking to break into the RSP model, or what made you want to like join the reserve? Like, what was it about being a sales rep that you didn't enjoy that you wanted to ultimately be able to move past?
Yeah, it was a couple things. Like one with sales, like even with closing, like again, it fluctuates. It depends on, like the offer you're on, the traffic, how much content is going out. Are they running ads? So I just find myself kind of bouncing from offer to offer. And then right before I started working with you, Bilal and Arlen, um, that's when I was like going through a rocky phase and I was like, hey, I want to get out of closing. Right. So I went back down to setting where I knew like I could, get my reps in, worked with you guys. That really opened my eyes because like you had been in sales, or I'd been in sales longer than you, but you guys knew something I didn't. And you guys ran a super efficient, like tight ship. So I got to see, like the systems on the back end, even just how you manage sales reps. And I took a lot. It opened my eyes. And then we kind of just kept talking, we were like boys and shit.
Yeah.
I wanted to move into that model. And so I think I just hit you up. Like I said, I was like, look, I'm trying to get out of closing. He told me just do it. And I joined the reserve. And literally within like 24 hours, I signed a client for
Yeah,
our business.
I was gonna ask you because this is actually important, and I always like to be super transparent, and honest with everyone. That's not something that I would like tell is the same that's gonna happen for everyone. Not everyone's gonna sign a client in your first 24 hours. Obviously, throughout your time in the reserve, you've done things that have put you in a position to actually win. But okay, that catches me up to date. You joined the reserve in July. Obviously, you were a sales rep. You joined the reserve. You start learning how to become an RSP. What did it look like for you right away? How did things start to, play out? And yeah, walk me through that. I guess walk me through that experience of like your first 2 weeks, 4 weeks inside, even first 24 hours, like you said.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It was pretty crazy because I had invested, like I had already been thinking about this model somewhat like a year prior. I'd invested in a different program, worked with some other names, but I found they had like a copywriter, or funnel builder first background, whereas like you were a lot like me, you had like a sales first background. So I already had the skill of closing, management. I wasn't taking percentages though, so I didn't really know how to set it up. So as soon as I went through the modules and like figured out how to do some of the stuff on the back end that I didn't know, I was like, oh shit, like it's right here, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why I was quick with it and then just signed a client, tapped into my network and I felt confident, that I could like fulfill someone. So
100%. And dude, for you, because obviously you had some experience like in the similar industry, but just being a sales rep, kind of like the freelance, not freelancer, but contractor model. Was it like a tough transition to go from being a sales rep to learning a little bit more of like full back end sales and like managing, closing these B2B deals, structuring contracts, like essentially eating what you kill? Like, talk to me about like that transition and, how difficult it was for you or how easy it was for you to kind of like fully move into this like back end operating and become your own business owner overnight, pretty much.
yeah, I mean, there's definitely a transition. Um, but I knew that going into it. And like again, I was already pretty much at zero. So I was like, it doesn't get worse than, this. What am I gonna do? Just go find another offer and continue closing. Um, so it wasn't that bad to be honest. But at the same time, like I just had so much confidence in what I knew already and then what you guys had. Because everything was literally step by step, how to set up a CRM, um, how to recruit, all that stuff. So the hardest part was probably going from like a client that actually paid me money, or sorry, from going from a client that wasn't paying me money into someone that actually was paying me money, you know?
Got you. So it was a pretty smooth transition for the most part. Obviously, I mean, you got a result right away, right? In 24 hours, you landed a client, and continuously started to land more clients, learn more as you go. It's not something where overnight you just learn everything in this model every day. You're continuously learning new things. Um, and then obviously now, right, in November, you landed a pretty huge client, that we should definitely talk about. I would argue one of the biggest names currently in info, like one of the gold mine RSP trophy clients. You worked on the back end and helped him get a crazy result, which in return got you paid. So kind of break that down for me, bro, because you went from being a sales rep to landing a client in 24 hours to, a few months later, 60 days later, starting to work with one of the biggest names in info. Like, how did that fully come about? And what was that like? And what did you help that client achieve? And if you want to name the client, feel free.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So I'll kind of give like a story. So again, I knew sales was my thing. Like I already knew how to recruit, how to set appointments, how to close. So I knew like that was my strength, right? So what I did first is I'd go to, creators or people in my network and be like, yo, I'll manage your sales team. I'll take a percentage, and I can build everything. And then I realized that's actually probably the biggest like lever in my opinion. Would you say? Like,
100%.
yeah. Copywriting, funnel building, email, all those other things I think are easier to like learn and apply. But it's a massive thing that not a lot of people do well. So I started managing sales teams, taking a percentage here, percentage there. And I was doing somewhat of like what I was doing with closing, but for management. And what it also allowed me to do is start learning, more of the back end stuff. So
Yeah.
I just looked at it as like a season of testing. and I did a good job there. I worked with, guys like Ben, RIP, Arlen, Nick Gaines, other creators. And by the time, it led to this opportunity, like I already knew I could grab it by the balls and crush it. So I got the opportunity to work with Justin, become the sales manager there, set up the back end, recruit the sales reps, train them, and that's Justin Waller that Grant's talking about. By the way, I didn't say his full name, but
Yeah.
and so we did, you know, 800K, in cash collected, 647 on one payment processor. We can toss it somewhere in here. And then I got the opportunity to move up as his sales director, which
Which
is,
is insane.
yeah, it's pretty crazy. So I'm still going to be working with, other clients, but for the time being, I'm focused on, scaling that to a mil a month.
Yeah,
So
crazy, crazy. So for all of you guys that don't know, Justin Waller, one is like one of the biggest names in info that sells online education. Huge amount of, credibility in the space, big personal brand, tons of followers. One of those gold mine like trophy clients like we like to talk about. And James pretty much started working with him, took over the full back end on the sales side. And they pretty much were doing like this big launch for an event. And they did $800,000. And how many days was that? How many week or how many weeks?
5 weeks, just 5 weeks. Yeah.
5 weeks.
We had a 50K day cash collected. In October, I can pull up the numbers or we can throw them somewhere in here, but October we
50
did, yeah, October we did like 297 and then, uh, October and then November, like 400K. So
Insane. So 800K total in a
yeah,
5 week period, a few 50K days, which is absolutely insane. And this was all set up by James. Like all of this cash was set up on the back end by James. James was the one that was actually helping Justin bring in this amount of cash, which 800,000 in a 5 week period. This isn't money that's like going to be paid out eventually. This isn't money that's like, oh, that's money that came through the door because of the stuff that James set up, through utilizing our systems and everything inside of the reserve that we helped you with. Now,
yeah.
bro, to go from like obviously landing a client right away, you were working with smaller tier clients, which are still good clients, right? To working with a client that does that number practically overnight, right? Like, bro, what was that like? Because that's like opportunities that like in the RSP model, in the operating model, people like almost dream of
Yeah.
landing and having. So like, what was that like? Was it a tough transition? Was it a hard ramp up, or did you feel like you were pretty well prepared?
No, I honestly felt like super prepared. And that's because I had like, I've been in the online space really for like 4 years, 3 years, and I've eaten a lot of shit, um, gone through the different phases. So I feel like by the time it led up to this opportunity and like the information I knew, the training, I was just like ready to go. And I knew, what would come from that, if like I did a good job. So I felt pretty ready. I felt, confident going into it. And now after it, I feel even more
Yeah.
confident. So I would say the biggest transition was just like trusting myself and being like, yo, like this shit, like just do it.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. One thing that you just said, bro, you've been in the online space for 4 years or like been trying to make shit happen. Same thing for me, bro. Always been trying to make stuff happen online. Obviously, like in the last 2 years, I've done what I've done. For you, it's been 4 years, which is a shit ton of time, right? It's a fuck ton of time to like want these things. Obviously, your life started to change and move the needle forward drastically in the last 6 months,
Yeah.
specifically, right? Maybe that's because you joined the reserve. Maybe that's luck. I don't know. Why do you feel like this changes are all happening now? Like specifically, was it like a different belief that you kind of had to like overcome within yourself? Was it just like one specific system? Like was it like a culmination of a bunch of different things? What was it?
Yeah, it was a combination of different things. Again, credit to you, Bilal, the reserve. That really opened my eyes, um, in a way where I was like, obviously these guys are killers, like they know what they're doing, but like they're just moving at a certain speed, you know. You guys are younger than me, and again, that's no discredit at all. You guys run your teams amazingly, but I was like, if they can do it, I can do it too, you
Yeah.
know. Even just the way you manage the team, set up the back and everything. But I do think it was a couple different things, where it's like I just kind of told myself like, just fucking do it. Like, you have the skills, just trust yourself. Trust now what you know from the reserve and your experience. and just like commit,
100%.
execute. So yeah, another thing too is like I think the first 20 within the first 24 hours I finished like the modules, like maybe 4 or 6 hours, and then immediately just boom, got to it. So
Yeah. And bro, like I tell everyone like the faster that you move, the more things that are going to happen, the more you put yourself in a situation to actually like have opportunities come your way, the more you're going to break through. But also, bro, like a lot of times people struggle and the reason that they don't break through in like a short amount of time like you've been able to do simply because they just tell themselves like all these things are so hard to accomplish. I don't know if I'm going to be able to reach that. This isn't that. And it's just simply a flip of the switch, which I want to be very clear. Like the reserve has all the systems and all these different things that you would ever need to make money online, especially with the specific RSP model. But as far as like, mindset and being able to like overcome these roadblocks, like that's one thing that like, me and, Bilal, we preach, right? Because it's imperative. So besides just like learning a skill set that can go out and make a client $800,000 in 5 weeks and make you $40,000 in a single month, besides just money, because we all both know like you're not satisfied. I know you want to make more than that next month and the next month after that, right?
mhm.
What have you like been able to take with you and learn as far as just like mentally and as far as like your mindset from the reserve and from being in a program like this around killers and around, me and everything like that?
Yeah, that's a big thing too, being around guys like you, Bilal, Gus, um, Alan Jr. There's a ton of killers in there, right? So I think surrounding yourself around those type of people, like there's competition, but at the same time, everyone's looking out for each other. Like you have 1 month, and then the next guy wants to match it. You know what I mean? So being around killers and guys that like know what they're doing is super, super important. Even before that, like I'd always valued network, and like meaningful, relationships in this space over the money. Because if you're good to people, and you nurture those relationships and you have a good reputation, it's only a matter of time before something clicks,
Yeah.
and then you hit it. So, does that kind of answer the question?
Yeah, 100%. Like just like
Yeah.
the group. I like to think that like the only people inside of the program are genuine killers. Like we don't bring in people that aren't perfectly aligned, right? Because essentially it just becomes a headache for everyone, for me, for you, right? Everyone like that. So like we like to bring in people that match, people like you, people like Gus, people like Junior, people like Alan, like all the people that you just mentioned. So yeah, totally, bro. And as far as like, I'm always curious, I always like to ask people you've made crazy things happen in your short amount of time in the reserve. We're only going to continue to keep going. For you, bro, like as far as the program, whether it's like, obviously live access to me, maybe it was the education, maybe it was, I don't know, maybe it was the community, maybe it was the network of people. What has been like, do you think the single like most impactful thing about the whole reserve that has allowed you to move the needle so drastically in such a short amount of time? If you had to like name like one specific aspect of it.
I mean, there's a lot of things. Can I mention? I'll mention a couple things. So again, going back to it, like everything is literally step by step, right? Inside of like the modules. That gave me a lot of confidence. But I would say the biggest thing was just like you holding me to a certain standard because I hold myself to a certain standard, right? But then also like you just checking up on me, like just being a super genuine, guy, just actually trying to help me. Same with Bilal. Um, that meant a lot. It's like good to have someone that's done this shit, like check in on you or just give you immediate communication because then you just bypass any doubt. You're just like,
100%.
okay, I'm gonna run this idea by Grant. Should I do this? Yeah, you should. Okay, boom. And I did that the other day.
Yeah.
Literally within what, like I think it was two
We
days or
spoke
something.
on Sunday. It's Thursday right now, so
Yeah, yeah. You told me you're like, bro, like you need to be doing outbound because that's another thing too. I all these other clients that I signed were through like network or referrals. So again, you want to maintain a good reputation, do good by people and obviously get results. But you were like, bro, you need to be doing outbound. Like you need to do this and that. And I was like, you know what, he's right. Literally it's the exact same script or like the same thing you sent is what I sent. And then 12K setup fee, which we can throw up here.
that's fucking crazy, bro. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah. And for you guys that don't understand what James just said, me and James spoke on Sunday. Were having just like a chill conversation, obviously, helping him out and doing what we do, but told him like just bro, instead of doing this, instead of focusing on this, do this. James implemented being the killer that he is. $12,000 setup fee paid directly to him. That's separate from the other client that we just talked about, the big client. Simply just from like listening and doing, right? Um, so yeah, that's also credit to you, bro. You know what I mean? Just actually like doing the things that I tell you to do, right? Making it super easy. I want to make this as easy as possible. I want to give you the answers to the test. So you just follow a cheat sheet and make shit happen,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Uh,
And the thing is too is like you don't have to reinvent the flywheel. That's
yeah,
another big thing. Like you can literally just do what's working, right?
100%.
Um, Even going back to this, like we'll go back a bit, but like I was already closing, for 2 years, and then I came and worked with you guys as a setter. But I'm so glad I did because if I didn't, bring myself back down to a different level to be like, hey, I can learn something from this situation, I don't even know if like I'd be where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
So I would say also just like always being a student of the game, listening, being open to different ideas is fucking massive.
100%. Yeah, there's always more to learn, bro, at every single level, right? There's just genuine levels to the shit. Something we always talk about, bro. And none of us in the reserve care to be right all the time, right? Like we just all want to level up and make more money, which is the ultimate goal, right? So yeah, bro, I totally agree. Just us making it step by step. For you, bro, because I want to talk about it like you've obviously built your own business to a point now where you have a big client that you're all in with. You're the director or head of, sales for one of the biggest guys online. Um, Obviously that's great, but you also have a business yourself that you have other clients, whatever. What are you currently like doing now, right, to finish off the year? And then what is kind of like your biggest goal that you're looking to accomplish in 2026 heading into the new year with this whole model with everything that you've been doing?
Yeah, so right now, like we're full speed, basically before we were working on the mastermind, now we're working on the actual info product. So, you know, obviously that was a massive win, but there's plenty of guys in the space that get, one win and then fall off. So I want to just continually be learning and scale, Justin's offer to 1 mil a month. We will do that. And then more so for me personally with like my clients, what we're doing is more of a done for you sales management, sales ops model. So I just want to, continue building those accounts, continue working with more reps, and then build, the biggest sales agency in the space that I can. Um, and within the next 10 years, be at
Yeah.
like a McKinsey and Co level where we just go and, fulfill companies on their sales operations. So focus right now is just put on gas. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And that's another thing, bro, that I personally love about this model. I mean, monetizer is kind of what I built and everything, but this isn't like an online vehicle, bro, and you know this more than anyone. Like you just said, McKinsey is a great comparison. You can do this at the highest level possible if you really want to. Of course, there's people that play extremely small. They only ever look at like, working with small creators online that want to just sell education, but like this isn't a model where, James, you're just going to have a 40K month 1 month, and then in 2026, in Q2, the model's gone and you can't make money with it anymore. Like this is something that you can make money with forever, right?
Yep.
At the biggest level possible, as long as you keep your foot on the gas. Um,
Yeah.
which is great, bro. And knowing you and how dialed you are, and James is like one thing I could say about James is when it comes to like being organized, building SOP, like all this stuff, like James is the most organized person. So I believe he's gonna do it. Um, and keep making more, bro. You've made 40K in a month now, which is absolutely insane. I'm curious, bro. That's got to be more money than you've ever made, ever, in
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
a
Like I said,
30-day window.
my biggest month previous to this with closing was 20, like Canadian, 20K Canadian. So that'd be 18 US. But bro, I was like on calls literally like 9 to almost 10. Like I would keep my calendar open 7 days a week. And in the beginning, it's like, it's fun. You have that hunger. But then after a while, it's like, I mean, you know this. I remember talking about this. Like you're just like,
Burnout, the sales burnout.
you're burnt out. And then it's just like you look at another vehicle where you're still putting in the same amount of work. In some cases, I'd even argue it's like less, work because
Yeah,
you can do like a one-time build and then just maintain it.
yeah.
So a big thing is the vehicle. Um, yeah, yeah.
Leverage, yeah. And bro,
Leverage, leverage. We were talking about this.
making
Um,
40K in a month doing it. Absolutely insane, bro. You got to enjoy it. And understand that that's that's what some people make pretty close to it in a year, right? You made that in a one month timeline with only two clients, bro. So absolutely crushing it. Crazy transformation from only July to November to get such a result like that. Before we wrap this up, bro, because obviously who knows who this is video is going to come across to, who knows going to see this. What would be like your one piece of advice or your one recommendation for anybody watching this that like has maybe thought about joining the reserve, thought about getting into the RSP model in general? Like
Yeah.
what would be your one thing that you would kind of tell them?
I would say like just do it, which sounds like very like simple maybe,
Yeah,
but I think just decide. Just decide. That's it. Decide. Like Grant and Ball actually do this shit. I actually do this shit. Gus, all the guys in there are actually doing it. Um, but just decide, you know. Don't go in there and be like, like maybe this is not just decide, you know.
100%.
Because it's not easy. Like if someone's looking for like a easy, model like that, it's not that. But you are getting the step by step process that's going to make it much easier for you, opposed to like maybe even me. I could have been doing this, arguably like maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, but within 24 hours of taking my experience and then what you guys knew, boom, you know, uh,
Yeah.
it was a
Yeah.
paradigm.
Move with speed, bro. Yeah, that's it. I mean, there's really
Yeah.
nothing
And
nothing else to say.
yeah, I would add maybe one more thing is just be a sponge too. That's it. Just be
Learn
a sponge.
everything.
Learn
Yeah,
everything, ask a ton of questions. The support is there. You guys are in the chat all the time. There's, even with like you guys bringing in, killers or having killers in there, like, Gus again, all those other guys, like they're very open to responding. I think
100%.
I talked to four other guys in there as well, and you know, everyone's like learning. So great community, great support. Yeah, just fucking do it.
Yeah, breeds people like fucking James. And I want to be extremely clear. James and all the other people that he's mentioned inside, like James is not an alien by any means. He wasn't like born with this like spell on him that he was going to make 40K in a month in 2025 November. Like he simply got that result from this and got results so quickly because he was a sponge, because he moved with speed, because he put in the work, right? So, bro, it's credit to you. It's been fucking fun on my end working with you, bro, and building a genuine actual relationship and we just got to keep it moving, bro, and keep getting results and you can't be a one-hit wonder, bro. So you did 40K last month. You got to continuously push up. Um and yeah, bro, that's really all I got. Unless you got anything else, bro, we can wrap this up. And
Yeah, and no, well said. I'm sure you and me. I keep telling you, I keep bugging Grant too. I'm like, bro, I want to work with you. I want to work with you. So when it happens, it'll happen. And I mean, even 40K or like the numbers we did with Justin, like it's great. I'm extremely grateful. But at the same time, it's like to someone else, or to like the standard I'm sure you and me have, it's like there's always a next level. So
100%,
excited
100%.
to get to work and learn more.
Can't get complacent. Well, yeah, I appreciate you coming on, bro. And I appreciate you kind of sharing a testament to your story, bro, and kind of your come up and everything like that. Huge, huge accomplishment. So round of applause to you, bro. And for all of you guys watching, if you want to be like James, if you want to break into the RSP model, you absolutely can. But understand it isn't an overnight thing, even though some people have make it happen overnight. It isn't an overnight thing for all of you guys watching this, but it is something that can absolutely change a lot of things for you in terms of, you know, financially, mentally, and everything heading into the new year, and allow for you guys to level up. So we'll cut it there. Appreciate you jumping on, bro, and let's keep pushing up.
Get it.